refused to enter the bedroom, so her owner set up a hidden camera, but what it recorded was chilling. Emma Collins, 26, lived alone with her cat Luna. One night, Luna stopped at the doorway of the bedroom and wouldn't go in. Her fur stood on end, eyes locked on the corner of the wall. Emma tried calling her, even offering treats, but Luna hissed and backed away. The same thing happened the next night, at the exact same time. Emma grew worried, so she set up a hidden camera pointing at the corner. The next morning, she checked the footage. What she saw left her frozen. Emma sat frozen on her couch, staring at the paused video on her laptop. The night vision footage was grainy, but clear enough to make her skin crawl. At first, the screen showed her empty bedroom, silent and still. Then, in the corner where Luna always refused to go, something faint appeared. A flicker of movement. It wasn't just dust or a shadow. It was shaped like a person. For a second, it looked like a figure crouching. Then it vanished. Emma replayed the clip again and again, trying to make sense of it. Her cat hadn't gone near that spot for days, and now the camera showed why. She didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the house made her jump. By morning, she had convinced herself it must be a glitch, something technical. But deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that it was something more. Instead of ignoring it, Emma decided to dig further. She searched the property records of her flat. The building wasn't old, just a 1970s block converted into modern apartments. Nothing unusual stood out. Still, she called her landlord to ask about the history. He brushed her off, saying the flat had no problems and she shouldn't worry. But the way he said it sounded too dismissive, almost rehearsed, like he'd been asked the same thing before. That evening, Emma spoke to her neighbor, Mrs. Patel, who had lived in the building since it was first built. At first, Mrs. Patel was hesitant, but when Emma mentioned the strange behavior of her cat and the footage, the older woman's expression changed. She lowered her voice and said, "You're not the first." Emma leaned closer as Mrs. Patel explained that over the years, several tenants in that flat had reported strange occurrences. One woman had moved out after hearing scratching inside the walls at night. Another swore she saw someone standing in the corner of her room when she woke up, only for them to disappear. None of them stayed long. "They never tell you this when you sign the lease," Mrs. Patel whispered. Emma felt a chill go down her spine. That night, she sat in bed with Luna curled tightly against her legs, the cat refusing to move near the wall. The apartment was silent except for the faint hum of the fridge. Then, just after midnight, Emma heard it, a faint tapping. At first, she thought it was from upstairs, but the sound grew clearer. It was coming from inside the wall itself. Her heart raced. She pressed her ear against the plaster, and for a moment she could swear she heard something like a voice, muffled and low. She pulled back immediately, shaking, and Luna darted out of the room, tail puffed. Emma knew she couldn't ignore it any longer. The next day, she called in a local contractor, pretending she wanted a small inspection for dampness. The man came with tools and a flashlight. When she directed him to the corner wall, he tapped it and frowned. "This part shouldn't sound hollow," he said. He knocked again. There was definitely a cavity behind it. Emma asked if he could open it up. At first he hesitated, but eventually he agreed to cut a small section. As the plasterboard broke away, a rush of stale air filled the room, carrying a faint, musty smell. Behind the wall, there was a hidden cavity just large enough for a person to crouch in. Emma shivered, thinking of the footage. She asked the contractor to widen the hole. Inside, they found something that left them both silent. Old scraps of fabric, food wrappers, and a rusted tin. It looked like someone had once hidden there. The contractor muttered under his breath, clearly unsettled. Emma reached for the tin. When she pried it open, she found something she didn't expect. Letters. Dozens of them, folded and yellowed with age. Her hands trembled as she unfolded one. The handwriting was shaky, desperate. It was dated 1979, just a few years after the block was built. The letter spoke of someone trapped, saying they had been locked in the wall by him and could hear others moving outside, but no one could hear their cries. Emma's eyes blurred with tears. She read another letter. This one was shorter, almost unreadable, but the same desperate tone carried through. The writer begged for help, saying they didn't know how long they had before they died. Emma realized she was holding the final words of someone who had likely never made it out. She called the police immediately. When officers arrived, they sealed the area and investigated further. The cavity was small, but deeper than expected, leading to an old maintenance space that had been sealed off decades ago. Inside, they found more evidence: personal belongings, scraps of clothing, and bones. The police confirmed later that they were human remains. News spread quickly. The story hit local headlines: "Human remains found behind wall of London flat." Neighbors gathered outside, shocked but not entirely surprised. Some admitted they had always felt uneasy in the building, especially around Emma's flat. The letters were taken as evidence, and forensics worked to identify the victim. The discovery tied into a real case from the late 1970s, a missing person who had never been found. His name was Thomas Webb, a young man who vanished after an argument with his landlord. Police had long suspected foul play, but never had proof. Now, decades later, the truth was literally uncovered inside the walls. Emma gave a statement to the press, though she kept Luna close by her side throughout. She told reporters it was her cat who had led her to the truth. The authorities praised her for not ignoring the signs. Specialists explained that animals often sense things humans can't: scents, faint sounds, even subtle changes in the environment. Luna's refusal to enter the bedroom had been a warning all along. The building was inspected thoroughly after the discovery. More hidden cavities were found, but none contained remains. Still, the chilling truth was undeniable. Someone had hidden a body inside the wall for decades, and it had gone unnoticed until a cat sensed it. Emma never spent another night in that flat. She moved out within weeks, unable to live with the memory of what she had found. Yet she kept all of Luna's things, often telling friends that her cat had saved her from a life of silence and ignorance. She would say, "If Luna hadn't stared at that wall, none of this would have come out." For months after, the case dominated local news. Experts debated how the building's construction had allowed such a hiding place, and families of other missing persons wondered if more secrets lay buried in old structures across the city. For Emma, though, the experience changed her life. She grew hyper-aware of her surroundings, always listening for the small details most people overlook. The most haunting part wasn't at the camera footage or the tapping inside the wall, it was the letters. Handwritten words from a man begging to be heard, trapped in darkness while the world went on just outside. Reading them felt like listening to a ghost finally speak after 40 years. The police later revealed that one letter contained a name. "Please tell my mother I love her," it read, signed simply, Tom. Even after Emma moved into a new place, she kept that memory with her. Sometimes, late at night, she would look at Luna, who always seemed calm and watchful, and wonder how many other stories like Tom's remained hidden behind walls, waiting for someone or something to finally bring them to light.